Nominations open this morning with a winner set to be announced on November the 2nd. Well, joining me now is Ryan Shorthouse, Chief Executive of Bright Blue, which is an independent think tank. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, apart from James Cleverly then, who else are you and colleagues expecting to put their name in the hat? I mean, certainly contenders who might be able to, unite the different factions within the Tory party, move it forward, hopefully in more dignified, unified fashion than we've seen in recent years.
Well, yeah, I think there's going to be quite a number of people, a relatively high proportion, considering the size of the parliamentary party now, which is just over 100. A relatively high proportion are going to put themselves forward. I think people like Tom Tugendhat, Kemi Badenoch, Priti Patel, Robert Jenrick, all likely to come forward, and perhaps some more. But I think really there's two things that the Conservative Party will probably be thinking about. The first is, can we have someone who's unifying? When the party was very big, 2019 to 2024 had a quite high number of seats. There was a real spread of people from different philosophical backgrounds, whether it's people in red wall seats, people who are very Eurosceptic, more one nation. So somebody who can appeal, who can unify those different parts of the party, I think will be important. And I think the second thing is, really, I think the parliamentary party will be looking for somebody who can present the party as somebody, as something that is very professional again. Lots of activists feel very demotivated by quite a bruising election result. There's been lots of calamity over the last few years, lots of changes in leadership. Some people still feel quite aggravated that Boris, for example, was removed as leader. So there's quite a lot of bad blood there between the activists and the parliament and the parliamentary party. So somebody who is going to professionalise the Conservative Party machine, inspire activists as well, I think will be very important.
Well, you raise a really important point, because fair to say figures like James Cleverly, Priti Patel, I mean, they're not particularly known to be hugely tactful, are they? Both of them have in the past faced pretty heavy criticism. James Cleverly, we know, partial to bad language. I think he made those dreadful comments at a reception about his wife and a date rape drug, didn't he, at a reception? Priti Patel accused of bullying?
Well, I think what's really important is what I talked about, professionalisation. I think, the Conservative Party, as soon as possible, need to present themselves as a business-friendly, professionalised party. And that obviously means, no gaffes, no bad behaviour, things like that. They need to have the trust, particularly of people in business, but the wider public as well, who expect very strong professional standards from politicians. So, there's a choice now for the Conservative Party. They can go in a direction which is much more divisive, belligerent, trying to oppose everything that Labour does, playing the culture war game. Or, considering the public are not really in the mood at the moment to listen that much to the Conservative Party, they can slowly rebuild both the party base and the activists, but also their reputation as a government in waiting, which is very professional, has a team of MPs who abide by very professional standards and are ready to be the next government if Labour fail to achieve the economic growth that they need to do if they're going to keep taxes down and the public finances in good order.
It's set to be a long old contest too, isn't it, Ryan? Running right through until November. Do you think it needs to be? Do you think there's that appetite for it among grassroots members?
Well, I think there's an appetite amongst the parliamentary party to make sure that the different candidates are really tested in different scenarios, particularly in terms of how they present and how they debate. And there's a feeling maybe that previous leaders that were selected didn't have as much scrutiny as they should have. Because obviously we know, well, we've seen this in the US and Biden, if you're not able to debate, present effectively and coherently and compellingly, then that's obviously a problem. Presentation matters. But there is a danger here, I think, of leaving it too long, because you saw this with Labour after they lost power in 2010. The Conservatives really were able to dominate the narrative that Labour messed up the public finances. And that narrative lasted a long time. It helped, again, the Conservatives to achieve a majority in 2015, a majority that was slightly unexpected. So at the moment, Labour are really hammering home the argument that they've inherited a real economic mess. And the danger for the Tories is, if they're being quite introspective and focusing on the different candidates, they allow that narrative to keep forming over a long period. So, there is a risk with going quite long with this, is, the Tories are not able to counter the narrative that the economy is in such a bad state. Because actually, we do know that on some figures, whether it's inflation or growth, likely interest rate cuts, that the economy has turned a corner. So, I think the Tories really have to challenge that narrative that they left Labour with a terrible inheritance.
Good to get your assessment this morning, Ryan. Thanks very much indeed.